30 years of the best sports talk in Middle Tennessee, featuring Tennessee Radio Hall of Famer George Plaster, Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame coach Watson Brown, and Young Guns Billy Derrick. And now, here's your host, George Plaster.
Hello again, everybody. Welcome in. It's, how would we describe today? It's a Monday, and it's a little cooler than it ought to be for May the 1st, but hopefully that'll all change here in the very near future. Of course, we are broadcasting from our new digs at the Fordyce Center in Bellevue. A lot of things to talk about off a busy, busy weekend of activity. And even into today, my Braves are in the middle of a doubleheader caused by consecutive rainouts in New York, and they lead 6-5. It's been anything but a pitcher's duel. 6-5 Atlanta, bottom of the sixth inning. We, of course, will keep you updated on that. Let's check in Murfreesboro. Say hello to Kelly Holcomb. Kelly, of course, filling in for Watson Brown, who will rejoin us sometime later in the summer. Kelly, how are you?
I'm good, George. How you doing?
Good. How's your voice?
It's getting better. I still have some episodes, but I mean, it's getting better. I'll be okay.
Episodes are the right word. I know exactly what you're talking about. So
Yes.
Are you one of these people who spends every waking moment watching the draft?
Absolutely not. The only reason I watched it the other night is because I'm on here with you. So I told somebody the other day, that's the absolute first time I've watched the NFL draft. I watched the whole first round, and I've never, ever done that, George.
Interesting. What did you think of it?
It's just like it is every year. You get some guys that, you know that Bryce Young's going to go first, so that's what we thought. But then after that, it was kind of up in the air. We had heard that C.J. Stroud had fallen down the board and Will Levis has climbed up the board. And, I said it on Friday to you guys. I know you had Watson on after I left. But, it just makes me wonder if the NFL has gotten to the point of they're putting out so much disinformation that was Will Levis used as a pawn so that the Texans could get their guy. I mean, I think they wanted Bryce Young, but obviously C.J. Stroud was there as well. So I thought they did a really good job of climbing back up, and David talked about it, of climbing back up. They got their second pick, and then they climbed right back up. They gave up some picks to get the third pick, but they got Will Anderson, who they wanted. So I know that they're hoping that those guys can be stables for a long time for the Houston Texans, but I thought that was really good. And then, it was surprising to me. Anthony Richardson went to the team that he had to go to. Like, there's three teams in the NFL. You got the Baltimore Ravens, who just signed Lamar Jackson to a huge deal. You got the Philadelphia Eagles, who obviously signed Jalen Hurts to a huge deal. And then the offensive coordinator for the Eagles goes to be the head coach of the Indianapolis Colts. That's probably the only other place that Anthony Richardson, and that's where he went. And obviously, with some tutelage, we'll see how that goes. I mean, the guy's an unbelievably talented guy. Got a strong arm. He's huge. He looks like a tight end. He can run. So they're hoping, that'll be in the annals of the draft for the Indianapolis Colts. How Anthony Richardson turns out is how that draft class will be. It's kind of the same thing with the Tennessee Titans, because that's what everybody's thinking with Will Levis.
So, Kelly, let me try this one on you. On Richardson, I've seen really good out of him. I've seen stuff that didn't blow me away at all, in particular when he played Vandy here.
Right.
If you were going to coach him, give me a couple of things you do with him.
Oh, well, you got to – I think he can do things from the pocket. He's got to get a little better from the pocket. You got to work with his feet. I mean, that's what I tell every young quarterback. If you're going to be accurate with a football, the accuracy starts with your feet. If you're not good with your feet, you're not going to be very accurate. That's why, what Aaron Rodgers can do throwing the ball off either foot is just amazing to me. So, you have to have somebody that's really a technician and fundamentally, sound to coach him up. He's got to go through his reads and not take off so fast. But that'll come with time. I heard Mel Kiper say something that was really, really poignant the other night. He was like, any college kid that got drafted or that's coming in the NFL, they're not NFL ready, which that is totally correct. They're not NFL ready. You've got to go up there and hopefully he's around the right guys. Obviously the Steichen guy has coached Jalen Hurts in Philadelphia, did a really good job with him. And I've always said to myself, when he was at Alabama, used to wear me out when he'd take off running too soon and too early. And then he would go out to the right and then he would throw the ball away. Well, got better with that. And now Jalen Hurts can actually throw the football. So the coach for Indianapolis had a big to do with that. And he'll obviously have a big to do with Anthony Richardson and getting him right.
Billy, did you spend every waking hour of your life watching the draft?
Friday, I spent a decent amount of time kind of during the Vandy game. We were both there kind of checking in on it. Thursday, of course, everybody watches Thursday. Saturday is just, you almost feel too much of a degenerate if you watch on Saturday. It's like I'm sitting here on a Saturday midday watching the NFL draft. Like, what am I doing? But there's still some interesting things that go down on Saturday. But for the Titans, we talked about it before we went on. It's just interesting how you kept watching and waiting for a receiver to potentially go to the Titans, and they waited till the 7th round to pick up a UT Martin receiver. So that's what I was watching.
We're going to get into all of this with Terry here in a little while. By the way, I went to the Vandy, Kentucky game yesterday. It hailed.
Mm-hmm.
For about 3 minutes, all hail broke loose.
Did it pop you in the head, I hope, George?
Excuse me?
I said, did a couple of them pop you in the head real hard?
Are you hoping it did?
I am hoping it did.
Yeah,
yes.
It did not.
Okay.
It did not. David, a lot of watching of the draft?
A little bit. Obviously, it was at First Horizon on Thursday night, so I would kind of pop in every now and then, particularly when the Packers were on the clock for my mom's sake. I know she really wanted the Packers to take a wide receiver, and obviously I popped in for that 11th pick to see the Titans take Scroncy, which wasn't a big surprise for me. I think they went chalk, best player available, kind of like what Rand Carthon said at the presser that night.
We'll get into all this with Terry in a little while. Billy, you've got an update. Get us going.
Yeah, George, we're going to start with the NFL draft and the attendance. The audience in the United States of 54.4 million. That was the total unduplicated audience for the 3-day event in Kansas City.
Are you talking about on television?
No, in Kansas City. So
wait, hold on a second. Say all that again. I'm lost.
The NFL draft in Kansas City had a total unduplicated audience in the United States of 54.4 million viewers. So now that I read that, I think that is TV.
Yeah, well, sure it is.
Viewers.
There weren't 54
Absolutely.
million in Kansas City.
I saw that Nashville drew over 600,000 live in attendance. Kansas City had 300,000. So Nashville was still quite better.
That's what I was looking for. But I asked, was it better did Kansas City put on a better event than Nashville did?
Hell no.
Some people are saying.
No. It hailed yesterday. Hell no. Keep going.
In other NFL news, it looks
that was a riveting lead.
I know, wasn't it?
Thank you.
It looks like DeAndre Hopkins is back in Arizona, according to his Instagram post. He said, I see everybody telling me to stay. Who said I want to go? Who said I want to leave? So Hopkins, I don't know if that's a cryptic post or what, but he it sounds like he's going to be back in Arizona and wants to be back. But then again,
good receiver.
Who knows? In the NBA yesterday, the Heat beat the Knicks 108-101. Jimmy Butler, 25 points. They lead that series 1-0. It's going to be tough to win that series in Madison Square Garden, but it's good they got game one in. Warriors beat the Kings. Steph Curry, 50 points.
God,
they
what
win
a
the series.
Performance. In a related note, about 2 minutes ago, he just scored again. Amazing.
Yeah, he's you get the experience of those guys, and you kind of hate that for Sacramento because they're kind of the up and coming team. But
And they had a great year.
Yeah, they did, but the experience took over.
Tonight, Sixers and Celtics at 6:30.
No Joel Embiid.
Right.
That means no win.
That
Most
means
likely.
trouble. That's trouble.
Yes, that is trouble.
And then you got the Suns and the Nuggets. The Nuggets wore them out in game one.
They took phonics behind the woodshed. Apparently, they were hooked on phonics. And they just beat the dog out of Phoenix. I kept looking, thinking Phoenix would make a comeback. 18, 20, 25. Do I hear 30?
If Jamal Murray plays like that, they're going to win that series.
Man, Denver may be better than I thought.
Yeah, watch out for them.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, in the NHL yesterday, the Panthers knocked off the Boston Bruins, the mighty Bruins, 4-3 in overtime. What a finish that was. The Bruins took the lead midway through the third period, and then the Panthers tied it up with what was it, 2 minutes?
It was 55 seconds.
55 seconds.
And the opening that got the tying goal was about that much.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
These guys can shoot.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything like it before in my life.
It may be the single biggest upset in hockey history. A 1 versus an 8, but not just a 1 who won 65 games. So watch this, Kelly. This is called show prep. Okay. Something you're not used to seeing out of me. So I took a picture of this. The last 10 President Trophy winners, the President's Cup is given to the team that has the most points in the regular season. Bruins yesterday lost in the first round. A year ago, Panthers in Florida lost in the second round. In 2021, the Avalanche lost in the second round. If you go back to 18, the Preds lost in the second round. Anyway, the President's Trophy winner has now not won the Stanley Cup 10 years in a row, which means, Billy, that before yesterday, it was 9 times. 9 times.
That's the only reason he brought up that stat, so he could say that.
Right.
Mrs. Bueller, he is leading you down the primrose path. Who said that, Kelly?
I don't know, but Bueller.
It was the principal, Edward R.
Oh, yeah, okay.
How many times
That's
have you
right.
seen that movie?
I have seen that movie at least 100 times.
My
I've seen it.
I think
I've
it's
seen it a bunch
hilarious.
as well, man. It's it's a great one.
It's right up there with the classics. Dr. Zhivago, Ferris Bueller. Thank you.
Late last night, Seattle beat
Very late.
Colorado 2-1, so Seattle moves on. There's a couple game sevens yesterday in the NHL.
Yeah.
Tonight, Rangers and Devils. That's again another game 7
Mhm.
tonight at 7:00 on ESPN. I would imagine the ratings will be phenomenal.
Sky high in New York for sure.
That's at MSG.
Would you all buy that this is the best opening round combined NHL, NBA that we've ever had for entertainment purposes?
For the game, all the game sevens.
Yes.
Phenomenal.
It's
Crazy.
amazing.
Back to the NFL. I want to throw this in. The Broncos have picked up the 5th-year option on Jerry Jeudy. Leading up to the draft, the Broncos front office, they kept saying how much they believed in Judy's potential. And earlier today, they picked up his 5th-year option. He's now signed through the 2024 season. And David and I were talking earlier. He was a big trade talk, variety over the last few weeks. But he's locked in there for Denver at least one more year.
And if you look in Denver, it's not like they've got a big old plethora of great wide receivers either. So what were they going to do?
Well,
why was that trade rumor even out there?
Who knows? Maybe he was used as another pawn like Will Levis was for Kelly Holcomb.
By the way, are you done? Got one
That's
more?
it. That's
okay.
it.
After the break, Terry McCormick's going to join us, and we'll get into all this draft stuff. I'll tell you up front, I don't think the Titans are going to run the wishbone, but given the level of receivers they've got, might ought to think about it. Stay tuned. We're coming back. Year number 2 of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night was awesome. And the reason is really simple. I chose Strike and Spare, and they were amazing. They have great food, great bowling, and a staff that is truly ready to go the extra mile to help you. They have 5 family fun centers in the area to choose from, and for more info, go to strikeandspare.com or call them at 615-824-5685.
How am I going to get to work? My car's totaled.
Skylar, our team is making a call right now. We'll get you a rental car. Don't worry.
That's a relief.
Call us 24/7. We're here. We're going to help.
Now that the weather has gotten considerably warmer, there's not a better place to spend a morning or an afternoon than Riverside Golf Links. So you've probably noticed the weather has gotten a lot warmer, and that means a couple of things in Nashville. It means baseball, and it really means golf. And for me, it's a visit to Riverside Golf Links. The course has improved dramatically. There are now 27 holes, including a 9-hole executive course. If you want tee times or more information, dial them up at 615-847-5074.
You can't see the sights without the sounds. From the crack of the bat to the roar of the crowd and everything in between, discover what Hit City has to offer. Spend your nights cheering on the Nashville Sounds at First Horizon Park with giveaways, fireworks shows, theme weekends, and more. Single game tickets are on sale now. Visit NashvilleSounds.com to claim your seat today.
We are back, and let's say hello to our Titan man, Terry McCormick from Main Street Media, joining us during this 2 o'clock hour. Terry, let's start with just kind of this general question. Is it as simple as, for this draft to be a success, eventually Will Levis has to hit it big?
Yeah, I think you can sum it up that way. I mean, if Will Levis, since they traded up into round 2 and moved back in round 3, which cost them an opportunity to get one of the available receivers there, including Jalen Hyatt and Cedric Tillman of Tennessee, if Will Levis pans out, people will forget about the fact that they didn't take Hyatt or Tillman or anybody else as a receiver prospect in that 3rd round as they move down. If he doesn't pan out, then, this team already was shorthanded at receiver, and people are going to let them remember that decision for quite a long time.
Terry, I don't have any problem with the fact that they went with Will Levis. I know there are people that want Hendon Hooker, and they may be right. Only time will tell as to which one of the two is better. But how have they privately justified the lack of wide receiver help that they went out and got?
Well, it's interesting because they really haven't. They said that they'll continue to look among guys who become cap cuts, among guys who, may be released by their teams later on in camp. But to me, that's not a way to solve the problem at the position. You solve the problem by one of 2 ways. A big-time free agent, and granted, those rarely get to the market, or you do it through the draft, because really they don't have a whole lot of assets to trade right now to bring a receiver in here without giving up something else that they need, be that, something like if they were to dangle Kevin Byard or Derrick Henry out there, which obviously I don't think they're going to do now.
So on Friday night, the Spears draft in the 3rd round caught a lot of people by surprise, because you're sitting there saying this team has got an absolute boatload of needs, and they went for a position that, that'd be nice to have somebody else, but was that a huge need?
No, not really. I mean, Dontrell Hilliard had filled that role last year of being the third down back. Now, granted, Tajay Spears appears to have a lot more upside and a lot more higher ceiling maybe than Dontrell Hilliard did, and he could eventually be Derrick Henry's replacement here with the Titans. But with so many other needs, especially at receiver, at offensive line, and even adding more pieces to the defense, which they didn't do at all in this draft, you kind of have a puzzled look on your face coming out of that going, why make this pick? They must have really been highly rated on their board and too good to pass up, in the opinion of Rand Carthon and Mike Vrabel and the front office staff, in order to make that choice right there. Now, Spears may turn out to be a fine player, may turn out to be, the diamond of this draft, but it certainly does not fill an immediate need for a team that has plenty.
So you think they went that way essentially under we really love this kid?
I think so. I think that, and I think the fact that they said they were paying the board and taking the top rated player on their board, regardless of position, regardless of need. I think those two factors probably led to them picking Tajay Spears as the third round choice there as a running back. Now, the big question with him is, can he stay healthy? And, stop me if you've heard that about a Titans draft pick before. This kid's had 2 ACL surgeries and apparently has also had some cartilage damage in his knees in the past. Now, it didn't show up last year because he rushed for 1,500 yards and 19 touchdowns. But you have to wonder, is his NFL career shelf life shortened because of previous knee issues?
Well, let me ask this question. Okay, you would think conventional wisdom would say, look, given what's gone on in the last couple of years, they would not go anywhere near injury problems. And in fact, they went ahead and did that. So for all of what John Robinson is catching, criticism-wise for the condition he left this team in, is some of this Vrabel.
Possibly. I mean, I think Mike cares about the player's health. I think he certainly errs on the side of caution with injuries, especially if it's a concussion and things like that, because, you've heard him speak on it numerous times. But, one of the things that they said going into this offseason was that they have to find a better way to keep players on the field. One way to keep players on the field is not drafting guys with injury histories, but they made an exception to that rule when they chose Tajay Spears.
Okay, let's take kind of a shot at this, Terry. So you've got this team right now in some level of transition, rebuild, reset, whatever. What would you give this team grade-wise? Because when I look at it, I'm saying C+, C. I don't see, it's certainly not an A. I don't even think it's a B. What do you think?
I'll give it a C for right now. And I don't like doing these things because it usually takes 2 to 3 years to look at a draft class and see exactly who panned out and who didn't. But right now, I'd probably give it a C simply for the fact that they didn't do enough to address the needs that they had. Now, the only way this thing's going to be an A is if Will Levis turns to be a franchise quarterback. If he turns out to be on the level of Joe Burrow or Justin Herbert or somebody like that, I'm going to not say Patrick Mahomes because there's not many guys on that level. But if he turns out to be a Burrow or a Herbert type of quarterback, or even as good as Jalen Hurts, then I think you've got something there, and you give this draft an A, no matter what happens to the other 5 guys. But right now, simply for the fact that they didn't address enough of their issues, I got to go with you, George, and give them a C.
Okay, let me go back on the wide receiver position, because I have had some fun about the whole they're going to run the wishbone, and obviously they're not going to do that. But right now, it would appear that it's Treylon Burks, as your one, a young guy that has a lot of potential, but certainly didn't show it game in and game out. And I'm not blaming him as a rookie. That's just sort of a fact. Westbrook Akine, I guess, goes in as a 2.
For right now, I think that he probably is. And then
Would we
number
agree
3 would
he's
be
truly no better than a 4?
yeah. I mean, ideally in an offense, you'd want him to be your 4th or 5th guy and be a special teams ace. But on this team right now, he's probably a 2, and they're probably hoping and praying that they find somebody, maybe Chris Moore, who they signed, maybe he could be the 2 and Westbrook Akina the 3. You know, Kyle Phillips and Racey McMath are kind of the wild cards in this. Kyle Phillips looked pretty good in that first game against the Giants, and then he hurt his shoulder at the end of that game and really didn't do anything after that other than fumble a punt or 2. So that's a guy that, the jury's still out on, just like with Burks. And Racey McMath, that's a guy who has all the physical measurables and talents that you could ever want. Runs like a 4.39 40 and 6'3", but for whatever reason, it hasn't translated. Some of it's been injuries. Some of it's just that he doesn't seem like a natural hands catcher to me. He's a guy that seems to trap the ball with his body too much and also seems to not run through the catch enough. So he's still a work in progress. And, if he gets that part of his game together, he could contribute. Otherwise, he's probably just going to be a 4th or 5th guy.
So, Terry, what you've got right now is a situation where whatever is available right now in the free agent market is there because they're at a certain level, and that's about it. So what I think you're telling me is that come cut down date, they are going to be all over the receiver world. And what they have decided is, with all of these various needs they had, that the easiest thing to skimp on right now and hope to make up ground at cut down date is wide receiver. Is that basically what it is?
It looks that way. Now, before cut down day, there'll be some guys who are released for salary cap purposes, probably over the next 2 to 3 weeks, a month, that come available. You remember a few years ago, George, they picked up Eric Decker that way. And while he was certainly not the Eric Decker that we had seen with the Denver Broncos, he did have a couple of moments where he made some nice contributions to this team. So that's probably about the best type of guy you could hope for. One name that's been floating around around regarding the Titans is Corey Davis, who many think is on the chop block with the Jets. Now that they've revamped pretty much their entire passing game, bringing in Aaron Rodgers. Apparently they're going to sign Randall Cobb, and I think they brought in Alan Lazard, some guys who have familiarity with Rodgers, and that Corey Davis could be on the chop block. If you could bring Corey Davis back at a reasonable rate, I think, even though they showed very little interest in retaining him when he was a free agent 3 years ago, I think certainly it would be a boost to this receiving core given the shape it's in right now.
Kelly, you are up. If you need more time when we go to the break around 36, we'll kind of bring you back up to start.
Okay, Terry. The tackle that they got. I mean, are they envisioning him as a tackle, or the things I'm hearing is he might be moved to guard? I don't know, and I don't know if they know that, and I don't know if you know that, but you're hearing kind of comparisons to Zach Martin, which is a really good player for the Dallas Cowboys. They move him inside. Everybody's saying maybe he could be that guy. What are you hearing? Are you hearing anything from that?
Most people think he's probably going to end up as a guard, Peter Skoronski, at least to start with. But don't discount him being in the running at tackle either. I think they'll probably try him at both spots during OTAs and during camp and just kind of see what the best combination is, because the guy that they signed as a free agent, Andre Dillard, who most people have penciled in right now as the left tackle, can also play guard. So whatever combination probably works the best, and they'll probably flip it around and try it both ways. I think that will be something that they'll look at. Skoronski was asked about playing guard or tackle. He's not played a whole lot of guard in a long time. He was a tackle at Northwestern, but he said whatever the Titans need him to do, he would gladly do it if that means playing left guard. Now, he may not care now, but 4 years from now, when it comes time to talk about a contract, Kelly, my guess is he's probably going to wish he's a left tackle.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody wishes they were a left tackle. I mean, those guys get paid like, just a little bit under quarterback. So, was Will Levis their guy all along, or do we know that? Like, if he wouldn't have slid, because I think the Titans did a really good job after Anthony Richardson was taken. Obviously the next guy on their board was Will Levis, and they were pretty patient because I thought somebody would come in and swoop Will Levis up at the end of the draft. So, was he their guy, or if he goes to the Indianapolis Colts instead of Anthony Richardson, do they take Anthony Richardson?
Well, here's my thoughts on that, and feel free to disagree. But early on, remember all the talk that the Texans were going to pass on C.J. Stroud and the Titans were working like heck to get up to number 3 with Arizona for the chance to draft Stroud. Well, when Houston blew that up by choosing Stroud with pick number 2, the Titans probably could have, had they been in love with Richardson, probably could have still made a deal with Arizona to get up there to take him. My guess is they didn't love Richardson enough to give up that type of draft capital. But, there was also reports and rumors of them trying to trade back into the bottom of round 1, where they maybe would have taken Levis. They eventually didn't do that. And when Levis was left over, they pounced and traded up to get him at the top of round 2. I think they probably liked Stroud first, knowing they weren't going to get Bryce Young. I think they probably liked Stroud first and Levis second. That would be my guess of the pecking order, and probably Richardson or Hooker third or fourth.
I got you. So talk a little bit about the other tackle that they drafted, the kid from Maryland, the Jalen Duncan kid. Seems like he might be a possibility to come in right away and help. He looks like a big physical guy. So what are their thoughts on him?
Well, he's big and physical and athletic, and certainly, one of the guys that they kind of ignored the receiver position to get a hold of this guy and take him. The one thing that works against him is that he was a little bit penalty prone at Maryland, but they think that, some of that can be fixed. They feel like that, any 6th round pick for the most part is going to be a project. So even though, he could get in the mix, maybe as the 3rd tackle, I think that down the line, it's possible that this guy could turn into a starter for them at the tackle position and work his way up the depth chart. But it'll take some development, as with most late round picks.
Yeah, and one more before, I guess we got to go to break, but one more before here. The Tyjae Spears kid, I know that y'all have already talked about it, but, looking in on him, obviously an athletic guy. I mean, but he's had 2 ACL surgeries, which you alluded to, but he has no ACL. Is that not a concern to those guys? Obviously it isn't because the guy has no ACL.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, with no ACL, you're going, wow, how's this guy, staying together in one piece to be able to do what he did at Tulane? I guess it wasn't enough of a concern for the medical staff to red flag him so that they didn't take him. And, and this guy, I think, can give them an element maybe that they've not had, because they ask him, the type of running backs that he compared himself to and that he modeled his game after. And he said Reggie Bush and Alvin Kamara. So those are 2 guys who are best known as receiver type running backs coming out of the backfield. And really, the Titans have not had anybody in that spot that's been very dynamic, maybe ever, in terms of a guy coming out of the backfield and catching a lot of passes. Probably have to go all the way back to Ronnie Harmon in the mid-90s.
Right. Go ahead, George. You got it.
Wow, Ronnie Harmon. Didn't expect to hear him today.
That's a way back too. I'm just now remembering Ronnie Harmon when he brought that up. That was nice.
Terry, hang with us. We'll get to you for round 2 of all this fun and frivolity. Want to welcome a brand new sponsor to the show, and that is the Music City Grand Prix, which is August the 6th through the 8th. Here's what has gotten my attention. Most of you know I am not the biggest race car fan. However, I got to tell you, they've gotten my attention because so many of you who have been the first couple of years have come away saying it's one of the coolest events you've ever seen. And think about it, when you've got Indy cars running at 200 miles an hour around the Korean Veterans Memorial Bridge and the football stadium, oh yeah, it will get your attention. And you couple that with a tremendous job that their staff has done in securing music acts over those 3 days, August the 6th through the 8th. And so all of us, including me, need to be paying attention. Tickets are available now at musiccitygp.com. Again, that's musiccitygp.com.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
For over 35 years, Wilson Bank & Trust has been committed to providing customized banking solutions to help individuals, families, and businesses in Tennessee achieve their goals. As your full-service community bank, we are proud to offer loans with competitive rates, local decision-making, and fast, friendly service from our experienced lenders. No matter where you are on your financial journey, Wilson Bank & Trust is ready to help you take the next step. Visit your nearest Wilson Bank & Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Family owned and operated for more than 2 decades, Alaco Fine Wood Floors is Nashville and Middle Tennessee's choice for premium quality hardwood floors. Since 1995, Jimmy Alaco and his army of employees have embodied the approach of taking pride in one's craft and providing superior customer service, growing from a one-man shop to a team of 23 professionals who share the founder's passion for quality craftsmanship and customer satisfaction. If you are interested in contacting them, you can find their headquarters at 2505 Winford Avenue in Berry Hill, or give them a call at 615-356-0303. Again, that's 615-356-0303, or log on to alacofinewoodfloors.com. Alaco Fine Wood Floors, serving Middle Tennessee's hardwood flooring needs since 1995.
At Baird, we have a different slant on global financial advice. That global capabilities mean nothing without personal attention. We have investor relationships in 35 countries and market expertise in over 40 industry verticals, all to help make the most important investment connections of all, yours. Global financial advice with a client-first approach. It's the shape of things to come. Discover the Baird difference at BairdDifference.com.
Welcome back to the beautiful Ford Ice Center in Bellevue. Kelly Holcomb alongside, as is Terry McCormick from Main Street Media. So, Kelly, it looked like you still had a question or two left, so go ahead.
Yeah, what does this mean for Malik Willis? I mean, that's, I'm a quarterback. I understand how hard that situation is. When I was in Indianapolis, Bill Polian, which was the GM, he would bring guys in all the time, and I would have to beat guys out, but it just doesn't. That's not going to happen right now with the way that Malik Willis played. And I think they only keep 2 quarterbacks. Am I right, Terry? Usually on the roster. I'm sure they could probably put it on the practice squad, but I don't know if he'll go past that. Somebody might pick him up. But what is his future?
Well, certainly murky, I would say, Kelly. The acquisition of Will Levis, despite what Mike Rabel said as far as how they'll start out on the depth chart, you know as well as I do that rookie quarterbacks at the outset of OTAs and rookies in general start at the bottom of that chart, even if they're a plug and play starter, it seems like most of the time. But Will Levis will certainly be number 2 on the depth chart, probably fairly soon after he arrives. Malik Willis needs to show them that he's improved his grasp of the offense and his grasp overall of how to play the position at the NFL level. You remember this was a guy that came from one of those spread offenses where they operated without a huddle, where they operated not from under center and exclusively from the shotgun, playing for Hugh Freeze there at Liberty. And it's vastly different to what the Titans run with that play action, vertical, deep shot type of game that they want to play, as you saw when it was at its best with Ryan Tannehill 2 or 3 years ago. So Malik Willis is going to have to do some adjusting and really better his grasp. I think that depending on what happens in preseason, if he does not do well, they could probably slide him through waivers, get him on the practice squad. But it wouldn't surprise me at all if somebody put in a waiver claim for a guy who is a physical talent and has, a lot of ability to run a certain type of offense. If you're Arizona, if you're Baltimore, somebody looking for, or even Indianapolis now with Anthony Richardson looking for somebody to run that type of dual threat offense with your quarterback in case your guy gets hurt, Malik Willis would probably be a great option as a number 2 somewhere else. So if the Titans get a sense that he's not going to make the 53-man roster, I could see it being possible that maybe they would try to trade him for a late round pick because they don't have very many picks next year, only like 5, I believe it is. But otherwise, Malik is going to have to show them something in order to earn his keep this time.
Yeah, I mean, is it something whereas, and I've been through this too as well, in preseason, they give him a lot of preseason snaps. Now I know, with the games cut down, I mean, but maybe they try to boost his trade, something about his trade stock in there. Maybe let him have a bunch of reps and let him showcase his talent, knowing that they're not going to use him. Maybe get his trade stock up there for somebody else.
Yeah, I think that's probably, last year he got virtually all the preseason reps, and it was kind of to try and get him up to speed because they knew they were, having drafted him in the 3rd round, we're going to push him past Logan Woodside on the depth chart. So this time around, if he gets a lot of reps, it may be not only to see if he can improve, but also to showcase him, like you said, for somebody else that might have a need at quarterback. So it's going to be definitely an interesting offseason for Malik Willis to try and earn his keep here with the Titans this season.
Yeah, how good is the Dow kid from UT Martin? I don't know much about him. He looks like he can run. Looks like he's a big, tall, physical guy. So what are some of the things that positives about Colton Dow?
Well, he's a local kid, played at Wilson Central before he went to UT Martin. So, he's from Lebanon. And so I think the things that stand out about him, he ran a 4.4 in the 40. So that's pretty good. And, that's not a complete burner, but it's pretty good. And he's got good size. He's 6'3", 215. He said that the things that he does best, probably going up and winning the 50-50 balls and also running vertical routes and making plays down the field. So that's something the Titans certainly could use. That said, a 7th round pick coming from the FCS level, that's a hard jump to go and make an immediate impact in the NFL. I don't care what position you're playing or who you are. Very few guys that are taken in the 7th round from an FCS school make an immediate impact. But given the Titans receiver situation and what they have, or I should say don't have, he's probably going to get a bigger opportunity than your normal 7th round pick would get to do.
Yeah, and this is my last question, but this is intriguing to me because I think I saw, and I told George this morning when we talked, I think I saw that the Titans were only the 8th team in the modern era of the draft that stayed with one side of the football. What are your thoughts on just? I mean, they didn't go after anything on, and I understand that you're looking on a board, but like, you know, when we're talking the Tyjae Spears kid, you know, you've already got a stud. Like, don't you come off the board a little bit and say, hey, we need a receiver. We got to have somebody as a high efficiency receiver. Like that just, it kind of blew me away. And that's like, I think I saw that was the 8th time in the modern draft history where a team just stays on one side of the ball.
Yeah, it was a little bit unusual. I thought they would address at least one pick, use one pick on defense, maybe add a corner or another edge rusher or even a safety, because a lot of times, those guys are the ones that bolster your special teams units. Those, late round pick linebackers and safeties and things like that. Those are the guys that make up the core of your special teams. And Mike Vrabel has always been big on special teams as being a third of the game and something that needs to be an area of concentration and an area of focus, just like offense and defense. So from those two perspectives, from, trying to add depth, in the back seven, and also from a special teams perspective, I was a little surprised that they did use at least one pick on a defender.
George, you got it.
Harry, let's get a little ugly about this. Let's go back to Malik Willis for a minute, because I watched him a lot in college, and there's no question there is athletic ability. As Kelly mentioned, they played him a lot in preseason. It was obvious that he wasn't totally ready. But come December 24th, when he starts against Houston, he didn't look like he could walk and chew gum. He looked like he was so into the coaches, don't do this, don't do that, don't do anything. That's a coaching issue. The fact that that kid didn't get one bit better, is that not a coaching issue?
It's part of it. I mean, the thing of it is, too, he's not an ideal fit for what they want to do. If they want to maximize Malik Willis, then they need to run the type of offense that caters to his skill set. He's not the play action vertical deep pass guy that Ryan Tannehill is, or that they think Will Levis is. He is, a Lamar Jackson, Kyler Murray, Jalen Hurts. He's cut in that mold. Now, I'm not saying he's anywhere near the level of production that those guys are, because a couple of those guys are among the best quarterbacks in the league in Hurts and Jackson. But, Malik Willis could do some of those things. And I think a couple of things. I think, one, they didn't want him to make a lot of mistakes, and they didn't want to put him in harm's way, as a rookie. Basically, they didn't trust him. Let's just put it that way, to do a whole lot other than hand the ball off and throw a 6-yard pass. And the other thing is, too, because he comes from this other system, they're really trying to fit, the square peg into the round hole a little bit. And I'm sure the wheels were turning in his head, and he was overthinking things and wondering, if I'm doing this right, if I'm running this play correctly, if I'm making my reads correctly. And he probably was confused as heck, because he come from a system where it's, hey, run around and do your thing, because they got onto him saying they didn't want him escaping out the back of the pocket, because they didn't feel like he would be fast enough to catch up, when those edge rushers would bear down on him like he did in college. So they wanted him to, if the reads weren't there, to go up the front of the pocket and gain positive yards from the start, rather than scrambling and trying to do something crazy. And I'm sure all those things of do this, don't do that, probably was, hampering his ability to process information and make the right reads.
So, Terry, the draft is over, and you look around at this team, and it seems like there's one of two scenarios. One scenario is the division sucks bad enough that they just grind out enough wins to be near at the end. The other is that they suck and there's really nothing to get excited over. Which of the two do you think is more likely?
I think either one could be very likely, George. I think in a division where the Colts are rebuilding, the Texans are rebuilding, and both of them are starting rookie quarterbacks who are probably going to take a year or two to get up to speed. there's an opportunity to, stay ahead of them at least. And then if you can put together enough to, compete with Jacksonville, maybe you can steal a division title in 2023. On the other hand, you're right. This roster is still bereft of talent at certain positions. It's, needs receiver help, as we've already explained ad nauseum on here. It's still got to make sure that the offensive line is going to gel and that the right guys are going to come through and they're not going to have to revamp that again. I think overall, when you look at this team, I think it all depends on how they do once they get the roster settled. It'll depend on how they do, I think, over the first month or 6 weeks of the season. If this is a team that starts out and they're 4-2 at the start, then I think they try to hold it together, try to compete for a playoff spot and a division title. They start off 1-5. Why not? You pull the plug on Ryan Tannehill, you start Will Levis, you let him learn, and you play for 2024 and beyond.
Terry, I believe for the first time you used the word bereft. I had not learned that word at BGA. I know damn good and well they didn't teach that down in Fayetteville in Lincoln County. So for all of us, Billy, give me the dictionary definition of bereft.
Deprived of or lacking something.
Thank you. Terry, good word wealth there.
Thank you.
So who reports when now as they get into glorified babysitting?
Well, the veterans are already able to report and start the offseason work. I think Mike Vrabel said that the rookies, the first day I think they can get their hands on them maybe is Thursday. But the rookie minicamp, I'm not exactly sure. That might be the second week, not this coming weekend, but maybe the next weekend. It'll either be this weekend or next weekend. They've not made an official announcement. It could be either one according to league rules.
Hold on a second. Over here, I'm being told to go to a scoreboard update.
Yeah, I mean, it's a high-scoring game between the Braves.
Oh, you want to give me Braves Mets, and that, of course, is acceptable. Terry, you need to stick around to hear this.
Yeah, he's saying he wants a scoreboard update. I was like, we don't have a final yet, but we're in the top of the ninth with 2 outs. Atlanta leading 9-7.
Okay, 9-7. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Game 1 of a real doubleheader, not one of these split jobbies. So, Terry, are we looking for a field goal kicker?
Perhaps. I mean, they have Caleb Shudak on the roster. They did sign an undrafted kicker, a guy named Trey Wolf. I think he's from North Carolina State, if I recall that correctly. And they'll add a few other undrafteds at various positions. They did sign a pass rusher from Ferris State, from, as you mentioned earlier, George, the Fighting Buellers.
No question. Terry, that's the kind of info you just don't get everywhere.
Picked up George Plaster as well.
Wow, as what, a wide receiver or a lineman?
A flex tight end.
We've signed George as a goalpost.
Oh.
Terry, this was riveting stuff. Thank you so much.
No problem. You guys have a good day.
Appreciate it, Terry.
Okay, let's get Kelly to weigh in on this. So, what are they?
I don't know, but I think what Terry talked about, if they start off bad, I mean, they'll just turn everything over to Will. That's how they'll go about it. If the owner loves Mike Vrabel, and this whole draft hinges on, I think the Skoronski kid is, I think he's as close as I think he's the closest thing to a sure bet as you can have. Of course, I don't know that. He might get injured. He might have, a rough, rocky road in the pros. I don't know. But I think the draft and
talent level, he's there.
Yeah, I think he's really good. But I think this whole draft hinges on Will Levis. I mean, I really do. And they gave up some picks to get up there in the top of the second round to get him. And you got to give it to those guys, because I thought they would get fidgety. And, when Anthony Richardson was taken, I thought that, they try to do something else to try to get up there to take him, but they obviously had a beat on what everybody was thinking, and
they held their water.
They did. That was really good. You got to commend them for that, and that's knowing the draft and knowing what's going on with the draft and knowing what other teams are going to take. That was a pretty good educational deal by them.
Okay, after the break, we'll get stat of the day, and then we'll get a much deeper dive into Will Levis. Kelly certainly has the quarterback angle. I've got the Lexington media angle. This is going to be interesting. Please stick around from the beautiful Ford Ice Center in Bellevue. Forget the fact that Sir Speedy Music City is owned by my BGA classmate James Warren. Their work stands on its own merit. James and his staff do incredible work, as evidenced by the huge banners at the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. If you're looking for quality to help your marketing and business communications, and you want it at a reasonable price, these are your folks. Call them at 615-832-9511 or go to print at sirspeedymusiccity.com. And be sure to tell them Plaz sent you.
Hey, thank you for meeting with me today. The insurance company has made an offer.
Already? Wow.
They've offered you the entire policy.
Thank you, Blair.
You're so welcome.
This is my buddy and former Nashville Sounds PA announcer Eric Berner. I always laughed in the old days at Greer Stadium when I would walk in, Eric would immediately play my favorite song, Van Halen's Jump. But then I learned he actually has a real job with Rockcastle Wealth Advisors.
Yeah, George, that's what I do. I help people in the pursuit of making their money live as long as they do. Everybody's situation is different, so I use a customized and individualized, personalized approach to the person I'm working with. Old 401ks, retirement planning, insurance planning, inheritance planning. Those are things that people like to get some more information about.
One of the things I find is people don't even know where to start, and that's where you come in.
Yeah, so I can usually help people with an initial phone call or meeting that is a no charge and no obligation.
And I'll bet you have a phone number and a website.
I do, George. They can call me at 615-235-1058 or rockcastlewealth.com or Eric at rockcastlewealth.com.
Hello, this is Celeste Middleton, a State Farm agent in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. I want to help my neighbors and local businesses be proactive and assess their risk before something unexpected happens. We want you to have a thorough understanding of your coverages to have the best protection when you need it. We can create a personal price plan for you. Our team has over 70 years of experience helping people in Middle Tennessee. We have an awesome team with integrity and provide honest and prompt communication, and we love what we do and genuinely care about everyone we work with at our office. Give us a call at 615-895-2700. Send us a message at celestemiddleton.com or walk in at our office at 803 North Thompson Lane in Murfreesboro. We would love to earn your business.
Welcome to John English Antique Sports and Cards, located at 204 East Depot Street in beautiful downtown Shelbyville, Tennessee. Their phone number is area code 931-492-4304. John, obviously, I've been blown away by what I've seen at your place. I've now been there 3 times. But for the person who's never been, what should they expect?
Well, we have a 3,000 square foot store, George. Half of it is vintage cards in all sports. And then half of the store is, a lot of people call it the museum, where there's a lot of early equipment and just the history of sports in general. Baseball, football, basketball, golf, tennis, and other items.
When somebody comes in there that you know is a big sports fan, what is their normal reaction?
Well, I think that they're pleasantly surprised, and of course, being in Shelbyville, Tennessee, which is a small town that you would never expect a shop like we have to be in. So they're kind of, I don't want to say blown away, but as I said, pleasantly surprised.
Welcome back in. It is time for Kelly Holcomb's favorite segment of the show. It is time for Stat of the Day, presented by John English Antique Sports and Cards in Shelbyville. They are located at East 204 East Depot Street. They are open during the week Tuesday through Friday from noon to 5, and on Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Give them a call at 931-492-4304. Once again, 931-492-4304. See what I got cooked up for this Monday afternoon, and we're going to go Steph Curry. Last night, Steph Curry became the second player in NBA history to score 50 points in an NBA playoff game at the age of 35 or older. Can you name the only other player in NBA playoff history to accomplish this feat?
Okay, we do not want to be gonged
Fair
while
enough.
we discuss this openly amongst ourselves. Kelly.
Yes.
The obvious would seem to be Michael Jordan, but I'm trying to think, by the time he got to 35, did he ever really explode like that with the Bulls?
I don't know that, George. I don't know if it'd be Jordan.
I mean, that to me is the obvious of, who would you just toss out there right at the beginning? I don't think it's him because that seems too easy. So let's look for a hint.
This player played against Michael Jordan in the playoffs, particularly
Multiple times.
in an NBA Finals.
That'll get the gears turning.
A lot of
Big man.
Big man. First name that popped into my mind, and this isn't it, is David Robinson. But he didn't play against him that much in any playoff kind of stuff. Kelly, have you got a big old blank stare too?
I do. I really do.
Okay.
I don't.
Then let's reveal.
It is Karl Malone, the mailman.
Mailman.
April
Yes.
22nd, 2000.
I was
The
about to give
mailman.
a good hint about a mailman, but I couldn't think of one.
Even with the price increases on stamps, the mailman always delivered.
He was good.
He was really good.
He and John Stockton were unbelievable together too.
You say pick and roll?
Yes,
George,
unbelievable.
before we move on, we have a final in New York. The
Yes, we
Braves
do.
with a 9-8 victory over the Mets in Game 1.
The Bravos get it done.
A little high wire act with
George, I meant
AJ
to ask you something the other night. The Braves were leading going into the ninth, and then somebody came back on them. Did they not?
We just talked about that.
Yes.
Don't mention that, Kelly.
They took the gas. Kelly, thank you for your positivity.
Real quick though, George, before we go to the next Kelly's World of Football.
Yes. Oh, that's right. This next segment will fall under that.
Yeah, give it some time to cook and stew. But
marinate.
Karl Malone without John Stockton, is he the same type of player? Or does he dominate the way he did?
Karl Malone was a great player if I was in his back court. I mean, but
like how much did Stockton aid that?
Oh, I'm sure he did. Just because
timing, man.
Do what?
Timing. I mean, everything's timing. They were there at the right time together. I mean,
Yeah.
I think one makes the other one. They're both great players without each other, but I think they made each other.
Yeah.
Karl
I was just
Malone
wondering.
was a stud.
Yeah, he was really good.
La Tech.
Boy,
La
Stockton
Tech.
is probably happier to have Malone than Malone was happier to have Stockton.
Well,
Maybe
I
I'm
think-
wrong though. Maybe it's
La
equal.
Tech and Gonzaga.
Yeah,
Sweet.
how about that? Okay, so are we now ready for Kelly's Open?
We sure are.
Excellent. Let's do it. It's a moment you have breathlessly awaited. It's time for Kelly Holcomb's World of Football. As shocking as this may sound, Kelly Holcomb's World of Football has sponsors. It's brought to you in part by Baird Financial with Yaz Hassan and Justin Oldham, and by State Farm Insurance, located in Murfreesboro, through agent Celeste Middleton. Where did you get that ridiculous looking hat? Is that you trying to be Nick Saban?
I'm not trying to be anybody, especially not trying to be Nick Saban. I can promise you that. It was given to me, though. It was free, kind of like your wardrobe, free.
Yeah, yeah. some of the stuff you're wearing should be free.
I can't even believe you're talking with what you got on today. What is that? What is that sponsor? What are you sponsored by?
It's another Music City Bowl pullover jacket.
It's shocking.
I've got several.
I thought that was it looked from here. I can't see it, but it looks like a Hyundai symbol. I thought he got sponsored by Hyundai or something.
You just relax. You just relax back there. Learn what bereft means. So
I've never used that, George, and I don't know if I'll ever use it.
No, but Terry did.
Terry did.
And I felt like we needed to learn exactly what that meant, and we did. So we're going to spend a lot of time here on Will Levis. And I'm going to kind of start this having checked in with some of my Lexington media buddies. First of all, Kelly, I don't think there's any doubt that Will Levis probably hurt himself a little bit with some of the bravado that came out before the draft. He ends up in the second round. If he had said nothing, does he end up in the first round?
I'm not sure, George. I'm really not. I don't know. It seemed like the way the draft went the other night was the way the draft was supposed to go. I've always said it. You have to have a little cockiness about you. I think the cockiness and when you take it to arrogance, I don't think people really like that too much. You've had guys come along like the Johnny Manziels and all that who just hadn't worked out well for him. He has come off a little arrogant. But I will say this. I felt for the guy the other night, George. I really did. I'm sure everybody else did because we had talked about it. If you know that there's a possibility of that going into the draft, I'm not sure you go on center stage where you have cameras in your face, because when those cameras keep coming and the picks keep going and they're not calling your name, that's got to get frustrating. And I'm sure that was humiliating for him the other night. But I don't know if that would have had an effect. I know that people don't like the arrogant, when I can throw it, I've got a cannon for an arm. Yeah. You know what? Let other people talk about that. That's the way I was kind of brought up. You always need to be humble and talk about your teammates and talk about your coaching staff and, never take the credit as a quarterback. You get too much credit, and a lot of times when you lose, you get too much of the blame. So, there's a lot that goes into it. I don't know if that had an effect on the other night, but it was certainly somewhat must-watch TV. But I just felt for him. I understand in those situations how that goes, and I'm not sure that had anything to do with it, because it seems like the Texans had their mind made up of who they were going to take. They weren't going to get Bryce Young. Well, they were going to take C.J. Stroud, and like I said, I think Indianapolis was one of the only places that Anthony Richardson, use his skill set and the way that they want to do things, is the only place he could have gone. So I don't think that had anything to do with it.
So, Kelly, here's what I've learned from a couple of Lexington media friends of mine.
Mm-hmm.
Will Levis has been asked in Lexington about that whole I have the strongest arm thing. And what he has told some of them is that, he has been in his career very careful with the things he said. And then he tells them, he says, so for the first time in my football quarterback life, I go off the cuff, and here's what ends up happening. Correct. And so I do think there is on his end a little bit of a regret for the way it turned out and the way it kind of got perceived. I've also been told by two different Lexington media people that he is really a good kid, that he is somebody that the football team really gravitated to, so much so that when he transferred from Penn State, and if you'll remember, he ends up transferring when Sean Clifford beat him out, and Clifford ended up having a pretty darn good Penn State career. He got drafted very late. Y'all may look up exactly when and where. I know it was late. But within about a week to 10 days of him arriving in Lexington for the first time, he got named captain of the football team. He was named a captain And you don't ever see that quickly. So that tells me that whole strongest arm thing is maybe an aberration, and that the real Will Levis has got some leadership skills, very well liked by his teammates. I was told that in particular at the end of the Ole Miss game a year ago down in Oxford, where the final series did not go well at all, his locker was basically right next to the door, and every player walking in told him to hang in there. It may not mean anything, but it also may mean that somewhere in here, this was a well-liked kid on his football team.
Well, that's what you want to have. You want to have somebody that is a leader, that can step into the huddle and command respect. He's going to be a young guy, and I'm going to go back to what Mel Kiper said. Nobody's prepared for the NFL. I don't care how, I don't care where you went. You could be at Alabama or Clemson. You're just not prepared, because when you've got Bruce, you're a starting left tackle like Skoronski may be, and you've got a guy who's been in the league 17 years like a Bruce Smith, and you're just not ready for that. You're not ready for that. You've got to. There's going to be some ups and downs, some mountains and some valleys that you're going to have to go through, and you're going to have a good head on your shoulders. So that does sound that does make me feel better about that. Maybe that was just a one-time deal, and that's good to hear, because you're always four guys that have to fight for something, and he had to fight through injuries last year. I've talked to Tim. Tim loves him. I told you that. Tim really likes him. It seems like the coaching staff loved him at Kentucky. So that's what you want, and that's what you want as, hopefully the eventual leader of your franchise. That's why they call him franchise quarterback. So that's good. That's really good to hear. And if he can get guys on his side and play for him and play hard, that's definitely a plus. So we'll see how it goes. But it's funny how these drafts go. You never know what you're going to get. That's what I told somebody the other day. It's kind of like a crap show, because there's really no guy set in stone that you know how he's going to react. There were guys that I played with that were drafted number 1 overall or number 1, and they got their money and didn't want to do it, didn't play good, didn't care that they didn't play good. I don't think he's that guy. I don't think many quarterbacks that come out are those guys, but there are guys like that. So that is good to hear. And I know that the people in Tennessee, my wife was telling me, because I'm not a social media person. I know, George, you're a big social media guy now. But,
yeah.
Yeah. But I just, you never know how it's going to turn out. You never know how any of this. And I know that the people, hit Twitter and they were upset. They wanted them to take Hendon Hooker. Well, that's not what the NFL is about. That's not what professional sports are about. Professional sports are, giving the keys to the castle to a head coach, to a GM. They're going to do what's best for that team. And obviously they thought that Will Levis was best for that team. And it'll be interesting to see how Hendon Hooker turns out. I think he's going into a really good spot up there in Detroit, but everybody says, well, they're going to get, they may have some Tennessee Vols come to the game, some people support. That's a bunch of baloney. I don't buy into that stuff. The Tennessee Titans are going to do what they think is best for their team and to help their team win games. And that's where Will Levis comes into play.
Okay, Kelly, before we go through your pros and cons, a Lexington media buddy of mine said, listen, the big problem is the turf toe. It's a legit deal, and before it's all over, he may need surgery. I guess I don't know enough. Are you surprised he didn't go ahead and get the surgery?
Well, I had that, which is kind of crazy, I'm sure, to you too, because I wasn't a runner, but I had turf toe in both my big toes. And anybody that says it's just a toe has never had turf toe. It's unbelievable the amount of pain, and I have arthritis in both my toes now as I've gotten older, and it really does suck. So I've never thought about getting surgery. I think that from what I understand and what I remember, George, and it's been many years since I talked to a doctor about it, but I think that's a tough surgery. Because what happens to the joint is the joint, instead of being rounded, the joint starts getting arthritic, causes to it, and it starts getting calcium buildup, and it becomes a flat surface. And I don't know if that's not happening in his case. He's young. That's what's happened in my case as I've gotten older. But those turf toes are really tough. And when you start having that, and you start having that problem, that can be a nagging injury. So I don't know if I would go ahead and get the surgery, because I think the surgery, from what I remember, was that it is a tough surgery to get over. But he's young, and he could probably, being in an NFL camp and being with an NFL organization, they've got the best doctors and the best trainers in the world. So, if he does get it, I could see that helping.
Okay, let's go to the pros and cons graphic that we have put together. And Kelly, notice the graphics here. I mean, this is an area where we've upgraded your segment.
Did David do that, or did Billy?
Billy had this one.
Here's what happened. Billy. David put the information down. I just added the picture of Will Levis. So
just kidding, Billy, man. I love it.
It was a team effort.
Actually, did I not put the information down?
Well, David put it on the graphic itself. Okay. You, of course, gave us the
Seems like a lot of transporting of information. We go from George to David to Billy, and then we have this. Boy, this is riveting.
Cutting edge.
Fascinating. So, okay, there's no doubt the guy is built, he's definitely built like a little bit of a truck. And even by his own words, he's got a heck of an arm.
That's right.
And I'm with you. What I saw of him in college, this is a guy that really wants to win. He's a tough competitor.
Yeah, all those pros there, and there's many more that you could have put on there. But, the gritty competitor is the thing that you love as a quarterback. I mean, he's physically gifted. We know that. We've seen him play in college. He played in the SEC. He can run around. He can make people miss. He can run over guys, which I don't recommend he do that in the National Football League. It takes some adjustment, getting used to that game, and don't try to run over guys, because if you do that consistently, you're going to get hurt. He even said that, whether it was a one-time thing or not, he's got an incredibly strong arm. That can obviously be a pro. It can be a con in that he tries to fit it in windows he shouldn't fit it into sometimes, where he's late on his throws. Shouldn't do that, because in the National Football League, the windows that you're throwing in, it's huge in high school. It collapses a little bit more in college, and then in the pros, those windows get really, really small. So that's where you get a lot of interceptions, which he threw, in college. And then, this is the thing that I was. He's a gritty competitor. He wants to win. You can tell that. You can tell by watching. He hates losing. When you get a guy that hates losing, that's why I love Lamar Jackson. I like watching him. I did not have his game. He does things that I can't do with running around. He's learning how to throw the ball better. But the guy is such a competitor, man. You love watching a guy like that, because he hates losing, and he gives his team every opportunity to win, even when they're down. At the end of the game, he's competing to try to, get those guys down there where they can score. So I love watching Lamar Jackson, because there's no bigger competitor in the league than that guy is. You look at his cons, George, like very inconsistent with his play. I mean, he's up and down. You want to be consistent. Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, all those guys that are really good, they're very consistent in what they do. And I saw some inconsistent play with him where, he kind of stares at one receiver, and then, he'll throw into some bad situations, and he'll play good one game, play bad the next game. You just can't do that. You got to have an even keel. I think his accuracy problems are evident. All you got to do is just turn on the tape. And we talked about that with Anthony Richardson. You asked me the other day. But with accuracy comes footwork. You got to have good footwork in. He's got to get in there with Tim Kelly, the new offensive coordinator, and his quarterback coach. And, they got to work on that stuff. They got to work on staying in the pocket, being able to move around. And then, hopefully he doesn't get injured. Hopefully he can get this turf toe thing under under wraps, and he can stay injury free. I don't know. He went through a bunch last year, but those are the things that I see with Will Levis.
Kelly, let me go to the middle one, the accuracy thing, because I used to believe that, look, by now you are what you are, and there's not going to be a lot of change in it. But then all of a sudden, I see Jalen Hurd, who, at Alabama, Jalen was a very inaccurate thrower, and somebody somewhere has helped him make an improvement that's gone from here up to the ceiling. I've never seen a quarterback improve their accuracy more than him. First of all, how much does Levis need to work on it?
Well, you have to work on it, because if you're not accurate in the NFL, you just can't play. I mean, that's what I say. And I tell people, I'm giving you this, like, when you're in high school, I used to tell guys on flat routes, they wouldn't throw it. And I'm like, he's open, throw it. Well, there's a kid that's, 3 yards from him. Well, they don't think that's open. That is open in high school. Well, when you get to college, that really gets closer. And then when you get the National Football League, if a guy beats him and he's still on his back, he's open. So you got to be able to make those throws. That's what makes, the Aaron Rodgers of the world and the Drew Breeses of the world, Patrick Mahomes, they're very accurate with the football. And there's going to be times where you're going to have to move in the pocket. You're going to have to, he can make plays with his feet, but you got to be accurate on the run as well. And obviously the guy in Indianapolis who was with Jalen Hurts last year, he and the head coach are both offensive-minded guys. They literally helped Jalen Hurts. I remember going down with my coach from college, Alex Robbins. We went down and watched practice at Alabama, and we're sitting there shaking our head because that was when Lane Kiffin was the offense coordinator. And I could not believe watching Jalen Hurts just how much, his feet were off the ground and his shoulders were like this. Like, he goes back and his shoulders up. And then when your shoulders are like that, you're not going to be consistent with the ball. Your shoulders need to be level all times. And, I tell kids when I work them out, like, you could put a 2x4 over my head, but my head never hits it because I'm never up and down. When you're up and down and you're doing that, you're not going to be accurate with a football. And that's what Jalen Hurts was. And that's what makes it so impressive. I know the guy was a hard worker, but man, he's really evolved his game into something different. And, he's turned himself into a really, really, obviously witnessed by his contract that he just got. But man, he's gotten to be a really good, accurate thrower of the football.
Kelly, didn't the improvement really start at Oklahoma? I mean, I started to see something better.
Yeah, it may have. I mean, it may have started at Oklahoma. I'm sure with Lincoln Riley. I mean, he'd been around it. I'm sure it did start there. But, I think when he's gone to Philadelphia, those guys really helped him too. Because he kind of had the same problems his first go round. Then last year when he became the all-time starter, man, his game is just so impressive to me. It used to make me angry watching him when he was at Alabama when he wanted to take off running, and that's what. I tell young quarterbacks, at some point you have to learn how to play the game. And you can use all this athleticism and all this athletic, but at some point, the Lamar Jacksons of the world, the Anthony Richardsons of the world, the Will Levises you've got to learn how to play the game. You got to learn how to read a defense, get the ball out of your hand, because not everybody's got that. And even though Anthony Richardson is a specimen, if he runs around a bunch, there's guys in the National Football League, I tell people all the time, that are trained killers. And I was not wanting that. I was 1, 2, 3, Tom Moore, 1, 2, 3, throw it in the stand, son. That was me. So at some point you have to learn how to play the game.
How did he say it?
1, 2, 3, throw it away.
Thank you. Are you with me that the second half of next season, we're likely to see a lot of Will Levis for either one of two reasons? Tannehill gets hurt.
Yeah.
They suck.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, that's the only way it's going to happen. Unless, now Will Levis might not play if they're doing really good and they're making a run. But, I know that and we've all said this, the AFC South sucked last year. Wasn't very good.
And it's going to suck again.
Well, I know this, with Anthony Richardson and with CJ Stroud, and all, it's become exciting.
Oh, it'll be a lot more interesting.
Yeah, it's become
No
must-watch
doubt about
TV. I do know that. So it's going to be interesting to see. But you're absolutely right. They're either going to have to suck, or Ryan Tannehill is going to have to get injured. But it's going to be interesting. I mean, this is what everybody wants to see. And the Titans drafted him for a reason. It's kind of, I wouldn't say sad for Malik Willis, but that's the nature of the beast, George. You know that. You've got to. He had every opportunity to go in last year and produce, and they had to bring Josh Dobbs in to try to get them a win in the last game of the year last year. So that's kind of saying something, and that's where we both talked about. Hey, they moved on from Malik Willis in that game.
The only question to it is it really Malik Willis's fault?
Correct.
I don't know.
No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
One thing with Will Levis, and Albert Breer of NFL Network reported this, when he came on his top 30 visit with the Titans, Rand Carthon and Mike Vrabel asked him to walk them through the tape of all his turnovers at Kentucky and try to articulate the decision-making behind the process. And what Breer reported was Carthon and Vrabel said that if he could walk us through his decision-making and why he made that decision and what was the better read or the better option on that play, then he could fix it long term. And so they came away really impressed with his ability to articulate why he made the decision and what was the correct decision, moving forward.
Good stuff, David. Thank you. Okay, we're going to go to the break, and then when we come back, couple 100,000 words about the NBA and the NHL. Round one's been pretty good. Year number 2 of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night was awesome. And the reason is really simple. I chose Strike and Spare, and they were amazing. They have great food, great bowling, and a staff that is truly ready to go the extra mile to help you. They have 5 family fun centers in the area to choose from. And for more info, go to strikeandspare.com or call them at 615-824-5685.
Hey, thank you for meeting with me today. The insurance company has made an offer.
Already? Wow.
They've offered you the entire policy.
Thank you, Blair.
You're so welcome.
Now that the weather has gotten considerably warmer, there's not a better place to spend a morning or an afternoon than Riverside Golf Links. So you've probably noticed the weather has gotten a lot warmer, and that means a couple of things in Nashville. It means baseball, and it really means golf. And for me, it's a visit to Riverside Golf Links. The course has improved dramatically. There are now 27 holes, including a 9-hole executive course. If you want tee times or more information, dial them up at 615-847-5074.
You can't see the sights without the sounds. From the crack of the bat to the roar of the crowd and everything in between, discover what Hit City has to offer. Spend your nights cheering on the Nashville Sounds at First Horizon Park with giveaways, fireworks shows, theme weekends, and more. Single game tickets are on sale now. Visit NashvilleSounds.com to claim your seat today.
Hello, this is Celeste Middleton, a State Farm agent in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. I want to help my neighbors and local businesses be proactive and assess their risk before something unexpected happens. We want you to have a thorough understanding of your coverages to have the best protection when you need it. We can create a personal price plan for you. Our team has over 70 years of experience helping people in Middle Tennessee. We have an awesome team with integrity and provide honest and prompt communication, and we love what we do and genuinely care about everyone we work with at our office. Give us a call at 615-895-2700. Send us a message at celestemiddleton.com or walk in at our office at 803 North Thompson Lane in Murfreesboro. We would love to earn your business.
We're back, and I asked the question earlier at the start of the show, is this the best opening round that the NBA and NHL playoffs have ever put on? And I think the answer is yes by a mile. Kelly, I'm going to run some things by you here. You ready?
Yeah.
Let's start in the NBA. First of all, Jimmy Butler. Holy cow. Worth the price of admission, right?
Absolutely. How could you not be for the Miami Heat? I told you the other day, they got 11 undrafted guys on their team. This is the grittiest bunch of guys. And you got, Jimmy Butler, who's just, he doesn't like the word playoff Jimmy, but golly, the man comes up so big. He got hurt the other night, and you could see Eric Spoelstra. He was upset. He said a choice word that everybody knows what he said, when he was down on the ground. Stayed in the game, really wasn't effective. But, to go into Madison Square Garden with the Knicks playing like they were and to beat those guys, you got to love the Miami Heat right now. They're playing lights out. They're playing team first. And, man, he is kind of the catalyst. I think that Kyle Lowry obviously is, he talked about him after the game. Jimmy Butler did, about how much of a leader he is. He's already been to, he won a championship, I think, with the Toronto Raptors. So,
Sure
they've got guys on that team that just, they fit their roles. They know the roles. They understand situational basketball, and they're playing really good right now.
The Knicks getting into the second round. Anytime you can get Madison Square Garden into the playoffs in May, there is something really special to it. To me, that's reason number 2. Now, the third one involves, and go ahead and put, what's his name, Steph Curry up there. Holy cow. That may be the best first-round series that the NBA has ever put on.
Could be. It was 2 really good teams, but in the end, the old heads that have been doing it for quite some time now, I think the experience played huge in that game yesterday. It's just they knew what to expect. I don't think the young guys for Sacramento knew what to expect. Not many of them had been in Game 7s, and Steph Curry, amazing 50 points in a Game 7. The only guy to do that. It's just, that's crazy.
I saw a stat that the Warriors have not lost a playoff series to a Western Conference opponent since 2014.
Yeah, they're 19-0, I think. Yeah, I saw the same thing.
Yeah, to put that in context, Patrick Mahomes had not taken a snap yet at Texas Tech.
It's crazy.
So,
wow.
A long time.
That is a long time. That guy right there in that picture.
And they've kept the nucleus together, George. It's like, you got Steph Curry, you got Klay Thompson, and then you got Draymond Green. I mean, those guys have been there for all of it, and they just keep adding pieces. They got a big guy that's playing really well, and I heard yesterday he's the 39th highest paid center in the NBA, and man, he's playing lights out. He's getting every rebound. It's amazing what they did yesterday.
The fourth one involves the Lakers. As all of you know, they stuck it up Dylan Brooks pretty good Friday night. What'd they win by? Saturday night, win by like
40.
50? It
was 40.
40?
Yeah.
40, 50. When you get to that point, who cares? Here's what's interesting. A lot of us who live here, who deep down want to root for the Grizzlies, we're kind of rooting for the Lakers. Dylan Brooks acted like a punk. He said some of the most idiotic quotes I have ever seen. You can't get my respect until you lay 40 on me. When the hell's he laid 40 on anybody? I love the fact that LeBron stuck it up his butt. And you know what? If I'm the coach of the Grizzlies, before Dylan Brooks gets back out there next year, I am giving him a very clear message. Shut the hell up.
Yeah, they talked quite a bit. They really did, George. You're kind of for them, but then in the series, the way they acted, and he got. I mean, you do know he got fined for not doing any, media appearances after any of the road games. So
yeah,
that's kind of a fitting end right there to that season. But you kind of want to root for those guys, but when you're talking to one of the greatest, maybe the greatest ever,
Show some respect.
Yeah, just show some respect and play ball and go out. They've got to, just like Coach Ham said after the game, they're going to be there for several years if they can keep this team together, because they've obviously got pieces in place to make some runs at this thing, and they got the guy in John Morant who is a superstar. So I kind of found myself rooting for the Lakers too, and I hated that because I'm a Tennessee.
I really had mixed feelings. So in the NBA, Jimmy Butler and the Heat knock out a 1 seed and knocked them out pretty easy.
Mm-hmm.
The Knicks being into the second round, and you get Madison Square Garden and the best crowd in the league. You got Sacramento and Golden State. Great first round series. And then finally, you've got the Lakers. For somebody in Tennessee to be rooting against the Grizzlies, it meant that Dylan Brooks had to totally act like a punk. And he did. Now to the NHL, where to me, you've got 3 storylines that are obvious. Boston wins more games than any team has ever won in the history of that league. Didn't get out of the first round. What an amazing story.
Well, I'm telling you, George's expectations, it's, that's just like the UT baseball team last year not making it to to Omaha. It's when you have such a successful season like the Boston Bruins had, 65 wins, and everybody in Boston, which, the New England area, the Boston area has had so much success in professional sports with the Celtics, with the New England Patriots, even with the Bruins, with the Boston Red Sox. Everybody just thought with the way that they played this past year and with all the wins that they gathered up throughout the year, that it was just a shoo-in for them to be in the Stanley Cup, finals. And that's why you got to go out and play. And that's why the Florida Panthers said, hey, no, sir.
They said, we're your daddy.
Oh, it was amazing. It was absolutely amazing.
Story number 2 to me is Colorado, the defending Stanley Cup champion. They don't make it out of the first round. Seattle, a second-year expansion team, gets in there. Good for them. Man, Seattle, that city's going nuts.
George, this was funny because the other day I didn't realize, I just kept hearing the Kraken. And I'm not a hockey guy. Like, I'm starting to watch it more now that I'm on this, but I'm like the Kraken. And then I saw Seattle and I said, hold on, time out. You're telling me that the Seattle Kraken is an NHL team? I had no clue. That's
yes,
funny.
They are.
And they beat the defending Stanley Cup champs.
They sure did. The third storyline that's cool. It is, I think I heard something like 11 miles between Madison Square Garden and where the New Jersey Devils play.
Mm-hmm.
They go at it tonight in Game 7. A friend of mine was at the Garden Saturday night, and this is something I've always wanted to do, is go to a playoff game at the Garden. He said it was awesome.
It's got to be amazing up there, the mecca of sports. And here's my thing. This I don't understand, George, how they get that deal set up for a basketball game, and then the next night they have a hockey game. That just it blows my mind.
They had something like 14 hours. Saturday night, that game ends at 10 o'clock, 9:30, 10 o'clock Nashville time. By noon yesterday, they were showing, a basketball court.
Yeah.
Now, I'll say this, a local TV affiliate wasn't showing it for a while. Certainly enjoyed Animal Kingdom. It was great to see those wild dogs. But they finally got it on, and it didn't help the Knicks at all. But whoever that crew is at the Garden, they know what they're doing.
Hey, who's gonna win tonight?
Rangers, New Jersey.
Yeah.
You'll have to wait.
Oh, I gotta wait. I wondered if that was the wait and see.
Part of Plaster Bet of the Day.
I figured.
Good tease. It comes up next. even if Kelly tried to butcher it. Stay tuned.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
You know, starting to save for your future doesn't have to be difficult. Let Wilson Bank and Trust help tone up your financial goals this year. Our certificates of deposits or CDs can help your money work harder with our competitive rates, earning you more than ever before. WBT checking options allow you to earn rewards you can really use, like a high interest rate or cash back on check card purchases when you meet some e-banking qualifications. Visit your closest Wilson Bank and Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC.
Family owned and operated for more than 2 decades, Alaco Fine Wood Floors is Nashville and Middle Tennessee's choice for premium quality hardwood floors. Since 1995, Jimmy Alaco and his army of employees have embodied the approach of taking pride in one's craft and providing superior customer service, growing from a one-man shop to a team of 23 professionals who share the founder's passion for quality craftsmanship and customer satisfaction. If you are interested in contacting them, you can find their headquarters at 2505 Winford Avenue in Berry Hill, or give them a call at 615-356-0303. Again, that's 615-356-0303, or log on to alacofinewoodfloors.com. Alaco Fine Wood Floors, serving Middle Tennessee's hardwood flooring needs since 1995.
Hey, thank you for meeting with me today. The insurance company has made an offer.
Already? Wow.
They've offered you the entire policy.
Thank you, Blair.
You're so welcome.
At Baird, we have a different slant on global financial advice. That global capabilities mean nothing without personal attention. We have investor relationships in 35 countries and market expertise in over 40 industry verticals, all to help make the most important investment connections of all, yours. Global financial advice with a client-first approach. It's the shape of things to come. Discover the Baird difference at BairdDifference.com.
Welcome back in. It is time for Plaster's Bet of the Day, presented to you by Bart Durham Injury Law Firm. They're simply put the best in the business. They are lawyers that you can trust. Give them a call at 615-242-9000. Once again, 615-242-9000, or log on to bartdurham.com. Before we get to tonight's bets for George, let's see what happened this weekend. And it was a 500 weekend for George. George got it done with the Lakers clinching against the Grizzlies, but lost with the Wild losing to the Stars.
Yeah, this is not an easy time for this Plaster Bet of the Day. You got a lot of road teams in the NHL getting it done. You've had a lot of upsets. Kelly, these are not excuses. These are just facts.
Sound like excuses, though.
They do, don't they?
Yeah, very much so.
Okay. So tonight, no excuses. Let's just get to it. Denver Nuggets. I'm having to rethink my position.
That's a kiss of death. The Suns will win.
Man. So they just bombed the Suns a couple of nights ago. Denver did not play all that well in the Minnesota series. And in fact, Minnesota had a chance to win game 5 and force it back to Minneapolis. Didn't get it done. But then Denver played the best they've played in the playoffs. I'm going with them tonight. Let's see what happens on it. And then the one Kelly asked about, I'm taking the Rangers. Why?
Okay.
They have good-looking uniforms.
Okay, yeah, that's a good reason.
No, actually, I think the Rangers are the slightly better team. And even though it's a home game for New Jersey, that'll be about a 50-50 split. If you listen tonight, you'll hear a lot of Ranger fans.
We'll see. Hey, good luck with that.
I'm going to need it. Tomorrow is Super Tuesday. Tony Basilio will join us during the 2 o'clock hour, and then Coach Herm Edwards to join us at 3, and he will be with us to discuss all the quarterbacks, all the draft stuff, some interesting things with Herm. Kelly, until then, you get your voice back to 100%.
See y'all tomorrow, Lord willing.
See ya. Thanks to all of you for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow for Super Tuesday.